So that is the reason we thought that we will quickly touch upon this. And for this, I would like to invite these two ladies. Alka. Alka, actually, I know her from 96 when we were doing the counseling course together. So she's a very senior, seasoned counselor. She's a psychology enthusiast in every aspect of its application and usage. I think I will skip reading the entire thing because we don't have time, and I really want you people to share your thoughts around it. And secondly, we have Tanu. So can I just put one chair here? If you people can come here. That's fine. I think if they can see you, it will be good. Come, come, come. And Tanu Vatsa is again a mental health professional. She's a certified clinical psychologist. And I have a very nice combination because Tanu happens to be Alka's student. And Tanu is working in this field for the past 15 years. So I really love to have both of you here. So now, when we look at these cases where, people have achieved a kind of success in their careers and still they are not happy about, about their job or about their life. So, let's try to talk about the different parameters. And I would like to start with Tanu. Tanu, we use this well-being word very often. And many times, when we use the word mental health, people get a kind of, a negative feeling. And in fact, when we started designing this session, it said career success and mental health. And then I thought, no, people perceive it mental health meaning some kind of mental illness. So as a normal person, so as to say, why should I, listen to a talk about mental health? Well-being, they feel that it is a positive term. So can you just take us through what is this mental health and mental well-being?
Absolutely, ma'am. It's a very important question, especially after the pandemic, now that we are openly talking about it. Prior to that, we never even spoke about, be it even mental well-being. Well-being was the term, not mental well-being, even though we've been studying about the subject since the 17th century we began. And till now, it's hard to accept. We all talk about, when I say mental health, or I say mental illness, or I even talk about mood disorders or anything, people say, yeah, it's very important topic, let's talk about it. People need awareness about it. And I'm like, in that people, even you are considered. Nobody really stands up and talks about themselves. Everyone says the other person needs it. And to begin with, mental health is a state of mind, and we all have heard about it, whereas mental well-being is an equilibrium that is defined when your cognitive abilities, your emotional health, and your social relations are all in combination, reaching an equilibrium which you define, where your functionality to your life is there. Your functionality to your life is there, and mental illness is when you're clinically diagnosed that there is a significant disturbance in a person in terms of either their abilities to process information, to understand, to think, to interact. That's the major simplistic way of defining the distinguishedness amongst the three. To throw some light on mental well-being is languishing from resilience to, say, flourishing, to a state where you are able to perceive and understand the other person's idea. You can alter your perception given the situation presented in front of you. Now, having said that, it's good to hear all these terms, and we all feel like, yeah, this is the right way to think about it. But when we reflect it back to our lives, and if you pick up your different spheres, it could be your workplace, it could be your family, it could be relations, it could be even sitting right here across each other. How many of us are actually, like ma'am said, how many of us are really present here to perceive another individual and to what they are saying correctly? Now that defines where we are, that defines what our mental state is, and that further defines what mental well-being would be. Ma'am, do you want to add something to that?
Whatever you're saying, it's fine. So mental well-being is something which brings us to a state of harmony, we all do, we talk about the word homeostasis. So the biological term homeostasis means that your system within is all in balance, is functioning normally. But the moment you are spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, yeah, you are in a state of balance, which is of course rare, which is a utopian dream for each one of us. You are supposed to be in a state of well-being. I think I'll stop there.
Ma'am, I can add to that is when ma'am you say balance, when I tell people a state of balance, they think it's a straight walk. It's like a thin line that you walk on, and you can't, and it's not the, so basically when we talk about balance, people say to not think about the rights and the wrongs and to walk a straight line. So balance is not a straight line, it's a wide area, and in which we fluctuate too. Every day my state of balance is different, and that's okay for it to be different.
World Health Organization. So, WHO latest report shows that the highest suicide rate in South Asia among youth is in India. And according to NCRB report, which is our report, Indian report, they say that over 24,500 children in the age group of 14 to 18 years, they have committed suicide between 2017 and 2019. So if we look at this data, that means the children's suicide in India was 2.2%, well above the annual rate of increase in the general population, which was about 1.4%. Also, an average of 3 suicide incidents monthly in the first 8 months of 2023, and all of us are aware of the suicides which happened in Kota. That is very alarming. And globally, they say that there are 20 suicide attempts to every 1 death. So, if you look at, of course, it might seem a little, negative and little pessimist that, so many suicide rates are happening. But what is the, reason for suicide? It's basically some kind of inability of the person, or maybe lack of life skills, maybe lack of resilience, that has led to this. And if you look at the mental disorders also, 1 in 8 people in the world are living with the mental disorders. Now, why I'm showing this, that, it's very, very imperative for all of us to know that what is the state of mental health globally right now. And these topics are to be discussed globally. So, I don't want that next time I have to change the topic from mental health to well-being. It is so common for people to go to a doctor for, a high BP or sugar or temperature, but it is still, not so common to approach a counselor or a psychologist, for the mental health issues. And in fact, I strongly believe that, when children, we take children for vaccination to the hospitals and we maintain a card, I think some kind of card should be also maintained for the mental health, that at every stage what kind of challenges, the person was facing. So, Alka, now coming to you, you have dealt with so many hundreds of students in your career, and you have guided also, students in choosing a career. So what do you think that is this career choice, or how this career choice is related to well-being in your perspective?
Right. So I got a good brief. Yes, please. I'll just finish that answer.
There.
All right, so I will take this question, but I'll first preface it with what happened since the morning. So, Professor Pant, deeply impressed, and as I said, had you been my science teacher, I would probably have been a psychiatrist and not a psychologist, you know. So thank you so much. Meenu took us through a beautiful journey of what counseling is and what quantum counseling is. Again, you know, you get fresh perspectives when you are almost 30 years into a career. Ma'am, through her yoga, gave me a temporary sense of well-being. And it was not merely physical, it was also emotional. Though, of course, initial awkwardness was there because of the dress I'm wearing, but it was very, very calming. Coming to the topic at hand, I'll preface it by number one saying, what is my understanding of a career? So, a career is a way of life. It is not a job that we do. It is not something which is temporary or momentary or in the various stages of our life. So, our when we start our vocational journey in school, um, it starts somewhere around 8th when choices are being given. We start with just choosing the third subject, and then we move on to choosing science or humanities or commerce, to choosing taking a professional entrance exam or going for a COET exam nowadays, or maybe where the cutoffs are very significant. Moving on to from there, doing a post-graduation, doing your PhD, etc., etc., etc. So that is the general journey. I'm not going to stop there. I'm not going to throw light until and unless a specific question is asked. What I'm going to tell you is that I think every one of us has heard about the term Sunday neurosis. I was working, I was passionate about my work, believe you me. I got opportunities to move up in life. I just exactly wanted to be where I was in school in 25 years. Tanu should bear a testimony to the fact that I was a senior teacher, extremely regarded. My opinion mattered with the school. तो शासन में नाम था, शासन में आवाज़ थी, पर शासन का पार्ट नहीं बनना था कभी भी, क्योंकि नहीं चाहते थे वो, नहीं शुड्स और वांट्स में नहीं रहना चाहते थे. So the purpose of life is what defines my career choice. It was never joining places where I could have through myself or through my husband's clout, but what I wanted was what I deserved and what I liked. So the purpose in life was very clear. And that is what I say, it's difficult for children, it is difficult for youngsters to understand what is it exactly that you want. So as Viktor Frankl says, and you will notice this a lot around you, that kind of instinct is slowly dying in human beings, where they can sniff, this is what really I'm made for. Then you go out and take help. You either ask counselors, you look around at professionals around you, and you look out for people who probably you feel are more learned, and then borrow from their experiences or talk to them or take an internship and then choose your career. This is a modern version of how a career choice is made. But how do we have this sudden state of loss of self-esteem suddenly at the age of 40, which people call as midlife crisis? What happens suddenly at the age of 50 where you have this existential anxiety? सब कुछ तो है, अब क्या करें? Retirement नजदीक आ रहा. I am a retired person too. And I did give myself that 1 month. It's known as a vacuum I created. I created a vocational vacuum because I really wanted to know, where am I headed to? What is it that kicks me? What is the first thought I get? Which is the first book I read? And then I read Viktor Frankl. And it is one of the most beautiful books. So that is why I want to preface my entire argument on the fact that Viktor Frankl was a famous Jew psychiatrist who was confined, who was put into a concentration camp. And he is one of those people who survived. The men were separated from the women, so he didn't know where his wife went. He didn't know that the wife had died. All his degrees were thrown the moment he was taken in. So his clothes, his identity, his everything, nobody was interested. You might be a great psychiatrist. You are now so and so number and you've got to work. And he said, I survived because I had a why in life. If you have a why in life, your how will come like this. So that why, that purpose needs to be clear. Now, that is okay for a senior person. That is okay for a person my age. How about the little one? How about guidance? So now I will come to my experiences. Children who were getting 17 to 18% in, let's say, subjects like humanities, they were shoved into humanities earlier. Later on, we started getting the so-called phenomena, the red ties. About 10 red ties in my class, and one of the science teachers walked in and she said, what are you doing here? Come, move out. You should be sitting in science. It hurt. I'm not degrading anything. But this is a child who said, ma'am, I wanted to do economics, maths, and psychology because I need to understand consumer behavior. And I did tell her. And I did tell her in my own sweet way, please do not drop maths, which is also a huge part of science. But the whole idea of career choices is not only influenced by your interest, but the table talk that you're having in your house, the kind of interest, aptitude you have, the kind of school that you've been to, the kind of people you talk to, your exposure in life. And that is why a lot of stories, which may be negative stories, when you talked about suicide, I could almost guess that this is what you're going to say. That when we are telling our children that take the IIT entrance, now of course a FITG, a JEE is, sorry FITG, to sir pe chad gaya. So when you are taking an entrance exam, all right, you've just thought about the entrance. How about hand-holding the same child past that entrance? A child who was a topper in school, who got into, let's say, an IIT, is now an average student or a below average student in class. How would he live with mediocrity? When he's so used to, my cousin who went to Cornell said, I was the lowest in the class. And here I was thinking I was boss. So the very idea that your self-esteem takes a battering, who is going to handhold? You know, the mother isn't there. If you can talk to that person, if you can get empathy, if you can get genuine interest from somebody, you would do great. But then that doesn't happen. How do you account for the fact that so many IITians commit suicide? So many doctors who are in AIMS, doing their post-graduation, they have no business to kill themselves. I don't understand it. But do you not also see that nobody's ever thought, nobody's given a look at the signs that were coming up? Nobody ever tried to understand the trajectory of where this vocational turbulence came from. So many of you, at least I spoke to 3 people, you've taken a slight career shift. Have you given up your science? Have you given up software? So if I can take it from your experience, a computer engineer who moves to neuroscience, isn't it connected? I mean, we make career swaps. Gaurav sitting over here, an engineer, moves into a field of motivational psychology, maybe, I'm sure you do a lot more than that. But you get a better understanding. So these changes, these shifts that we make in the middle of our careers, isn't it because you had an interest which you could explore later? So when you ask me, ma'am, that what was my experience as a psychologist in school, I would again and again say, people who could communicate, people who were able to speak up, were people who were quite sorted and could make good choices. But a lot of people who were considered to be notorious or backbenchers in the class were the ones who write today's success stories. And that is because somewhere they found their niche. So there is no predictable way of doing things. That is why this argument about testing and aptitude testing is always, it's a huge debate. but the human intervention cannot be ignored. So you have an aptitude test in your hand, you have a personality test, you have an adjustment scale, you have an intelligence test, all of them there. You integrate that and you can predict the person's career, but not without that counselor who handholds and who should help the person interpret his data, and then as he moves on in future in his career, somebody who is genuinely interested in your well-being, it could be a counselor, it could be a therapist, should continue handholding. It shouldn't stop at just the entry phase. I think if that is okay.
So what I can see, there are two things, when you are deciding about your career, then what kind of state of mind you are in, so well-being is important in that aspect also. And once you start working in an organization, then what kind of, environment and what kind of organizational culture you are getting, I think that also influences a lot. That is basically the well-being at work, how does it work? So, Tanu, now if I come to you, uh, he also asked a question, the relationship between mental health and happiness. So similar to that, I would like to ask you, how is it related? Is the success defines happiness, or because you are happy, so you are able to work hard and you succeed? So how does this relationship work?
I'll ask this question in a
Can I just come? Sir, can I just divide your question into two? You're talking about unemployment at the youth stage or unemployment as you grow up, middle age, retirement, etc. What stage? Mid career. Yes. Yes. Absolutely, sir. Sir, excellent question, excellent concern, and it's a question on which can start right. I could start by bashing up the government down, but I would simply say that opportunities can be created. Today is a world of startups which fail every other day. Having said that, I have seen anybody with a spark will always ignite. I understand that there are lack of opportunities, there is an excess everywhere. But what I've also seen is that people have actually dirtied their knees and gone down on their fours and done real basic stuff. May it be a great actors, may it be great people, great entrepreneurs. They've done everything, पूरी रगड़ खाई है, पर उनको मिला है. ये कोशिश है कि somewhere the tenacity of character has to remain. Consistency, your tenacity, the strength that you have. You have to be a survivor, you have to fight it. And generate that. Sir, सर मैं आपको राय नहीं दे रही हूँ, No, sir. Sir, मैं बात, sir, can you please listen? Sir, can you please? I started by saying that shoulds and what. I am saying we as a person. I'm not telling anybody to develop that kind of resilience or that kind of tenacity. I'm saying it's a very important characteristic of personality. I mean, if you try, give me that opportunity and listen, you will try to understand that anybody can develop that kind of stature, that kind of compulsion for himself, that I'll work and I'll be able to fill my stomach. So let us teach fishing to the people and not just offer fish. So the free doling of various of money, people getting compensations because they are in the agricultural industry. I mean, allow them to struggle. Allow people to find or create their own employment. I've known at least two such people in my life who never got any job, were very frustrated, started with something else. My own brother-in-law who did not get into medical, the whole family was in medical, finally did hospital management, not as a course, but he started managing the hospital and he's doing wonders. You've got to push yourself. Sometimes your circumstances may be enriched, but the idea is be open to that experience. Do not say, like you're saying, do not confine yourself to that shoot ki mujhe yahi banna hai. Initially, the money would be less, but there will be money. I was an unemployed person before I got into school. I was a mother of two, sir, let me finish this. But then we created, then I had to come here. I lost a brother. And then I felt that need, that emotional vacuum, I have to get out. No, sir, I'm not generalizing. So everybody has experiences. Absolutely, sir, I agree. No, sir, I'm not a great psychologist. Yes, sir, sure enough. Yes, sir. Sir, absolutely. No, sir. Sir, if you were sitting on the next seat as my client, I would not have. Sir, no, sir. Sir, micro and macro. Sir, I am not generalizing, but everybody has an opportunity which you have to just catch. Even if you are unemployed, you have to catch that opportunity, right? So, yeah.
And so this is not a counseling situation. So we are all mature people sitting here. So if we are sitting with the client, then of course this is not to be used.
Look, I just wanted to add that, I'm also a product of higher education, being from IITIM and all that. But what I saw in National Skill Development Corporation, I mean, the gross enrollment ratio is 25%. That means 75% people are school dropouts, right? 1 million people are joining the workforce every month. And this doesn't even kind of scratch the surface, correct? Those people need counseling. And they don't need counseling on the soft skill base. They need, let's say, knowledge on what they can go for. There are 30 sectors. Now, my problem with education counselors, I'm not pointing any fingers here. Even I also, education counseling I also do, but not more than 50 job roles you can define. NSDC's got 2,500 job roles. Pharma, how do I become a DJ? Tell me. How do I become a drone photographer? These are people, the young youth are looking at these kind of professions, but we are very concentrated on schools, on IITs, IIMs. I've been through all this system. For the last 10 years, I'm a highly educated, unemployed person because nobody will give me a job because my aspirations for salary is very high. And I won't like to work for somebody lower than me, so-called. And so what I'm trying to say is for the youth, I'm partly from what he's saying, The youth of this country is unemployed because they have been forced to do graduation. They have been forced to look at some kind of open correspondence course, and they are not certified skills. So when you call a carpenter, or when you call a plumber, or you call an IT technician, or you give a person to do your IT, matlab, to install some antivirus on your computer, we are still saying, no, no, you want a graduate, or you want, now the guy becomes a graduate, शादी हो जाएगी बेटा, तुम्हारी नौकरी लग जाएगी, शादी हो गई तो प्रॉब्लम बढ़ गई, finally you'll end up becoming a Domino's का pizza delivery boy. You ask all those guys, they're all pizza delivery boys. 2 days back, Bombay airport, you heard how many lines came up. Why? Because you're advertising education. You are saying 10th pass chahiye, 12वीं pass chahiye. You're not saying what is the skill required. What is this? No, and this, I'll just give you one short example where India is failing big time. And why this employment, unemployment question? South Korea is 95% certified skilled. You ask this question, look up Google also, how many BTechs are there? How many MTechs are there? How many MBAs are there? It's not available. 95% are certified skilled. That's why you have a Kia and a Hyundai, LG and a Samsung. Such a small country. 1980s में आप एक भी इसमें product बना सकते थे, नहीं मिलता आपको. आज that country has got, there's a skills Olympiad happens, 50% of the medals go to South Korea. India, that percentage is single digits. So we have to look at skills, and my request to you as counselors is devise methods by which these people can do it online, certify their, or at least ascertain what their skills are, what their passion is. It may be right, it may not be right, it may not be only psychometric. But you know, there's a software called Youth for Work. I mean, you can do various other things. Like, say, I used to get my 90s in my biology and all, but I used to rattle those Latin terms and go and produce them. So I used to get my 90s, but I knew I didn't want to become anything to do with biology. A diabetes educator is a job role. A diabetes educator needn't know biology. Diabetes educator is the person who sits in the outside room for diabetologists inside and takes down your bureau. कब खाना खाते हैं, कब low होता है, कब high होता है, क्या होता है, वो, that's supposed to be a sociologist role. So I'm just saying, trying to bring that difference between skills and education. Let's try and focus on skills, please. And that is a problem in here.
Experience and find the opportunity. See, all employment will not come to you through somebody else. You need to seek this. What you're saying is experiences that I had of the nurse, the semi-skilled nurse who came to look after somebody who was ailing in my house. I mean, I had to tell her how to put the Ryle's tube. You know, so that is a skill for which she's being paid and she doesn't know. I understand what you're saying and I exactly believe in that. But the whole problem is how it percolates in the society, what are parental expectations. I also have a person who's a neighbor who's telling my son plays poker, isse kaun shaadi karega, when he is taking care of the entire house. So we as a society need to change also so that we develop some kind of acceptance to these new skills that are.
I became an entrepreneur and I started looking at that what are the kind of jobs that are really needed and whether we have the proficiency for that available in the current youth. And I said that the highest job creators are going to be in the travel tourism sector and in the banking financial sector. And these are two areas which actually in the academic system, there is no way to really go there directly. So you have to go through an additional piece of work which nobody really guides them. So I chose those two areas as an entrepreneur to really focus on. and created a separate aptitude kind of test, which was a fun kind of game, quiz, whatever you can call it, to really attract people. And it was so attractive that I know some of my friends who were head of computer centers also took up that to really find out what is their aptitude. So what I'm trying to say is that right now there is a complete disconnect between the people who are actually doing the assessment to the real needs in the first place. And that is why this whole career gap is really coming. And just to share that, since I identified this, I really made sure that how we will get there. So the first step, I said that what is the real problem in the insurance industry, and how can people get into the insurance industry. And I realized that there is a license that they have to take. So for that license, there was no exam. That exam was being conducted only to really get that license. And that was such a shady kind of thing. Nobody was really actually doing it. Everybody was uh, just buying those certificates, so-called. And developed an entire program which was so intuitive to really make sure that you really become a very good insurance agent. Uh, I'm not here to really talk about it, but I'm just sharing this experience that this actually created 17 lakh people who took up these exams that I'm really talking about. And I became one of the first few people in the world, probably, to really have that kind of numbers in the world. To really create a program which was really taken up, because I constantly kept on updating what are the other gaps which are there in the banking financial sector. Yeah, and I just quit that. After setting that ball rolling, I just quit that and I just moved on to the next area. In the travel tourism, I did the same thing. And 21 new courses in the travel tourism. I mean, where is car rental? I mean, how do you run a car rental agency? Nobody teaches you. And you see all those car rental agencies, actually only the top 3 or 4, 5 companies are there. Nobody else. Whereas car rental is needed by everybody. So we created those 21 kind of different courses which were short term, which could be done online, offline, combination of online, offline, and things like that. So this is shared. And right now, careers in AI. Now everybody wants to go into AI. Whether they have an aptitude or not, nobody really knows. And everybody is following this thing. And so I just gave one talk at the Women's Day. And suddenly there is a series of people who want to really make me. Now I'm trying to really work on how do we really get that aptitude out of people, and what is the kind of work which is happening internationally. And I've framed some, just sharing this for the.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Dolly ma'am, but we have digressed from the topic totally. Just to remind you people, we were talking about career success and mental health, that when we talk about so many things, aptitude test and whatever you have done, and the way Alka was talking about, when we put in so much effort in guiding a student to choose a career, or all of us are, doing well in our career. So is it directly related to well-being? And one more thing which I would like to point out here, which all of you were discussing, if we talk about the future and if we look at certain reports of World Economic Forum also, they say that your education might not have a direct relationship with the career which you are doing. Because when we talk about the future is also talking about that every person will change jobs 5-6 times. Careers. They will change careers 5-6 times, not jobs. So if I'm supposed to change the career, then is it okay if I'm studying one subject right now? I'm a live example. When I started working as a psychologist, I taught also, then I worked as a marketing person also. So basically, you should be agile enough. You should have that kind of cognitive flexibility to apply the knowledge which you have gained in different fields. So I don't know whether some test which can assess this kind of cognitive flexibility is there, and whether it will assure that if I have taken a career keeping in mind all these things, will I be in a positive state of mind, of well-being or not. And here, in fact, we don't have time. Bhavaki has had the entire presentation on financial literacy. So, Bhavki, but I would like to ask you about your experience. Come here, you can come here. So, you know, when we say that, okay, if a person has gained a success, now, are you happy about it? So, how does well-being plays a role when you're already a successful person? You know, then how come people are still leaving, you know, that kind of profession? And then I will come back to you, Alka, for the life skills. And we have only 7 minutes, 5 minutes.
You know, I'll exactly, and I was listening to you guys and just jotting down my points of my own experience. So, you know, I was just thinking and I realized that there's such a profound connection between well being and career. Matlab, you know, when I started off, I was 21. First of all, I was preparing for a very rigorous professional course. I'm sure you must have heard about chartered accountancy. You know, the fact that I took it up and, you know, I just realized that so much mental strength was needed, first of all, to complete that course. And then I thought, okay, now the course is done. Now I just have to, you know, get a good job, high paying job, and I'll be sorted. It's when I entered the corporate sector, I realized, ki, oh my God, now the real world has started. You know, there's so many situations you face at work, from, you know, pressing deadlines to challenging team members and your seniors. And then you feel that it takes a mental toll on you know, and you kind of become used to the toxic work culture. And you feel, acha, aise hi hota hoga shayad. And then, you know, when you talk to more people and you realize ki, yaar, nahi, this is not normal. You know, toxicity is not normal and you should not take it. I mean, there have been instances when, you know, people just question your leaves. Arey, why are you going on a leave? Abhi kaam hai. Ya, arey, 6 baje kyun nikal rahe ho? Abhi, matlab, why are you leaving early? People give you stares. I mean, I have a life beyond work. I don't want to sit in your office, you know, like, and I don't want to make a fake impression on you कि अरे मैं तो late काम करती हूँ. मतलब these little things, they are like just, मतलब आपको पता भी नहीं चलता कि ये आप पे कितना impact करती हैं चीज़ें. या for example, मैंने एक और incident लिखा कि weekends पे काम करने का, you know. Organization कहती है weekends पे off है, but you know, just because you have to prove that you're overproductive and you know you're hardworking, तो आपसे expect किया जाता है कि अरे नहीं तुम दिखाओ तुम weekend पे काम करो. अरे मैं क्यों करूँ weekend पे काम? I don't want to work on weekend. I mean, I want to pursue my hobbies on weekend. I want to go out, spend time with my family, with my friends. Why should I work on weekends? And you know, that's when I realized that in my corporate experience of 9 years, whenever I've left an organization, it is just because of the bad work culture or a bad manager. It's never the organization was good on paper, but it was, I think, the whole toxicity that always pushed me out of that place. So, and another thing I wanted to say that, you know, I think it's so important for people to understand that while picking up a job or a career, you should always see ki what kind of work culture comes with it. Because आपका पूरे life का mental state is going to depend on that. So just don't think कि what salary package you're getting. Just ask around people कि अरे वहाँ का culture कैसा है, या जिस manager या team के साथ आप काम करने वाले हो, क्योंकि उसका impact आप पे सबसे ज़्यादा होने वाला है. So you know, you really need to, like, people really need to talk about it. And if you ask any of my age group, and especially like women, you know, they will tell you they don't want to work long term in corporate sector. Because I think उनको लगता है कि अरे हम अभी नहीं कर पा रहे, तो अगर हम, you know, we want to start a family or you know you want to have a work life balance, हम करेंगे कैसे ये काम? So I think ये बात नहीं करता है कोई, लेकिन ये mental well-being का बहुत important aspect है. So yeah.
So much, and it is such an important aspect, because forget about the corporate well-being. What I'm thinking, that all these people who are working as your manager or as your colleagues, they have also chosen that career maybe based on some research work. So I think, you know, it's career choice is beyond aptitude, interest, personality, which we keep talking about. I think the ethical considerations are also very, very important, that if I'm going to join a particular organization as an employee, then what kind of contribution I'm doing to maintaining and establishing a culture there. My contribution is also important. So just the concluding remarks now. I'm so sorry because the time is out. So what I understand from all the discussion, that the understanding of well-being is very important while making a career choice, and also after you're already into that career and you're working. So your concluding remarks on this career success and well-being, how they're related, and any suggestions for people.
Very important piece of information that this woman shared, and I think most of the youth is suffering from that, and not just the youth, the adult. I know of a 55-year-old man who's been working in a field that he's very well known about, and he quits because his boss didn't let him live or breathe. It's like late night calls till early morning calls, and if he doesn't do it, he loses his job and he has to run a family. And that does take a lot of toll on your mind and does affect your mental well-being if it's been done for a long period of time. Now, talking about success, happiness, and we say all these big words without really understanding the meaning behind it. When we start defining success, when I ask people what does success mean to you, most of them are lost. But yes, they want to be successful. There are something they're shooting for, or which they have heard about on social media, or their parents' expectations, or things like that. But if you really sit down with yourself and start writing about what gives you happiness and what is mental well-being for you, what does success means to you, that's when clarity starts to come about, and which none of us does. None of us sit down with a piece of paper and start writing, what are my goals? Does this goal really make me feel happy, or am I just doing it? How much of it is important? And where is it that I start to put boundaries around it? What else do I need to do apart from these goals? Because when we just stick to success of career and we run behind career at a 90 speed, we are losing on life, and that's where our happiness factor goes down, because a happiness factor comes in when we are contented in life, when we find satisfaction to life, when we find that equilibrium that we can fight all stresses and get up with resilience. And that happens when you are experimenting wholesomely and holistically about your life, which means physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, socially, relationships, your own connection to your spirituality, the way you have, the way you want. All of these little aspects are so important in our life to create that happiness that Sir was talking about, and that does affect our mental health overall. Our happiness, why is it that one in every fifth or seventh individual today is fighting loneliness and anxiety when we are filled with people in billions? Why is that? Because our connection to ourself is lost. The self-awareness about ourself is lost. We are on a robotic mode, just running as a machine. We get up, first thing we do is touch our phones. The first thing we do is to look at our emails. The first thing we do, so many people I know, and Beer Biceps you all know about, he said the first thing I would do is to get up and look at my Instagram stories. How many likes, how many people have I got? The first thing early in the morning. Now, how do you think that is not affecting you? That is tremendously shaping the day that you're going to live. And that day is going to turn into a week, a month, a year. And then you're trapped. And then we question, where is happiness?
Remains the same?
Yeah, just the concluding.
Yeah, so basically, career and well being, it is definitely a symbiotic relationship. We need to build up those boundaries. It is very difficult. It is easier said than done. And what Tanu is saying, that somewhere you've got to write it down, or you've got to just identify this far or no further. It's very, very difficult. It is very difficult. And while you are serving, you need to develop, you need to train yourself, enhance your skills, and of course, keep pace with the various hobbies that you have. If you are into something like a 9 to 5 job and you love reading, you need to find that time. So do not compromise on that, and that is where your personality comes in. Again and again, I'm saying openness to experience. And like Meenu asked, that part that I missed was the future life skill. The number one is curiosity, and number two is openness to experience. Do not, so like, when you pick up that word, that should is not what I am saying to my client, I am saying that we all need to be open to experience. We have a notional value of what success is. Sit down and actually think, is that success for me? Am I enjoying it? Because, with the kind of retrenchment that happens, Google made a case in point, threw so many people out, and then everybody goes in a tizzy. So, how does this ricocheting effect be worked? So, that happiness is for you to identify. Is it my child's smile when I get back home? Or is it when I get back home, the child is sleeping and, well, I also am so exhausted. So, it is for you to decide. But I really understand, Meenu, you've taken so many career shifts. I think you should be closing this session because you know it.
No, I will sum up only in one sentence, which I always say, that one needs to integrate the life journey with the career journey. I don't understand when people say, now I retire, I will do what I want. Then my question is, what did you do the entire life? And you affected so many people for all these years. So it's very, very important to integrate both of them, because it is going to shape your lifestyle. Thank you so much. I know there are a lot of things which can be discussed and we can go on and on, but I will put a full stop here.